Hi, I'm Emma Garlett and welcome to Paint It Blak. This week I'm sitting here with the future Prime Minister of Australia, Tremane Baxter-Edwards, who recently won the Indigenous Community Leadership Award at the WA Young Achievers Awards. Tremane, thank you for being here with me today.
All good, Emma.
And so this year you were telling me you've travelled to Canberra 5 times already. You're doing year 12, you have exams, you need a PA by the sounds of it.
Yes, I do. I think I do. Just living a very busy lifestyle at the moment, and not your typical 17-year-olds, that's for sure.
So you're from Wyndam.
Correct.
And you're boarding now at Aquinas in Perth.
Yep.
And how's that going for you?
Good, really good, amazing. I first started at Aquinas in 2019, and honestly, I've never looked back on it. The love and support that the college offers to me and the boarding community is just greatly appreciated. You know, I don't think I'd be where I am today, and certainly wouldn't have got the Community Leadership Award if it wasn't for the college.
And it's really impressive because the awards are extremely competitive and very tough, but you've been doing some amazing work as well. And you work very closely with Minister Linda Burney as well.
That's right. Yep. So I work directly with the Minister. I'm one of 15 advisors to Minister Burney's reference group, just working on the Remote Jobs Economic Development Program and making sure that young people are being heard in this policy, and it's a very significant policy for remote young people. And so when the minister reached out and said, you know, I'd love you to be on my reference group, I said yes, anyway, to help shape this policy.
See, I don't think that's normal for 17-year-olds.
I doubt it.
Most 17-year-olds might be at home playing games or on their computer or meeting up with friends every weekend. But why are you so passionate to do all this work?
Ever since I was small, I knew that the world wasn't perfect. I knew that Australia, while it is the best country in the world, was certainly a tough place to live in. And as a remote young person, I recognise that at a very early age. And you know, I see the disparities between not just Indigenous and non-Indigenous, but between regional remote people and metropolitan people. And so I said, I have to do something about this. You know, I can't sit on my backside and not do something about it. It's important that I get up and do something about it. And listening to the stories my nana told me as a kid, and I was just like, yeah, I can offer so much to the world. So.
Mm-hmm. Is there a reason why you're so passionate about this work that you're doing as well?
Absolutely. You know, I'm a firm believer in the power of reconciliation, and certainly as Australians, we need that in this day and age. And I've grown up in a life of hardship. You know, I was diagnosed with cancer at 2.5, and you know, I had my grandfather passed, and you know, that left a huge scar in the family, and certainly me. And I always looked up to my grandpa, and he was a very hardworking man, and so I had to do something about it.
And it's hard, you know, but you're from Wyndam. You've had all these hardships that you've suffered, and then having to go to boarding school and being taken out of home to Perth. There's a lot on your shoulders.
The weight of the world, I think. Certainly the weight from my community. You know, I often have young people in Wyndam say, you know, keep doing what you're doing. It's amazing because you're representing us, you know, and as a firm believer in grassroots advocacy, that, you know, the power of young people is pretty amazing. And I witnessed that on the evening at the 7 West Young Achievers Awards, and just incredible. And so, you know, the community, you know, relies on me. The young people rely on me, and you know, my two language groups rely on me as well. And so, not only that, there is a societal expectation of me as well, and as a young Aboriginal man. And so, yeah, it's a huge commitment from me, and but I know if I do something about it, I'm contributing to a better Australia.
Just hearing your story, I only met you today, but I feel so proud. I feel so proud of you, and I feel like you've done so much. You've got your whole future ahead of you. Australia should be proud of you as well. And I know all of us in West Australia just see so much potential in your future and what you're able to bring to the table. So, I'm very excited to see where your career goes and what you do in the future. And I definitely think you will be a Prime Minister. So I'm very excited to see that happen, and I just want to help make it happen too.
Thank you so much, Emma. And yeah, like any support from families and friends, and even you, Emma, is greatly appreciated because I definitely need it. So,
and one of the topics you mentioned earlier was around some of the hardships that you faced earlier in your life. Do you think that has made you more passionate about wanting to make change?
Absolutely. Like I said, when I was 2.5, I was diagnosed with Burkitt's lymphoma, non-Hodgkin stage 3 intra-abdominal. So essentially, I had cancer, aggressive cancer in my stomach. And if it wasn't for the love of my family and the West Australian nurses and doctors, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. And so, I've witnessed a lot of trials and tribulations, but they've made me a better person, that's for sure. And it's giving back to the community is what I'm so passionate about. I've been in a car accident too. That was pretty scary. But definitely just giving back to the community is important.
So Year 12 exams coming up?
No, we've had those.
Oh, you've had those?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we've had those. And lots of assignments. And usually when I'm away, I'm missing tests, and so I have to catch up the following week. And so, at TAFE, I also do Certificate 3 in tourism, and so, just constantly doing things. I'm never not doing something. That's for sure.
At the end of this year, you'll finish Year 12, and what's your plans for next year?
I'm thinking of heading home just to have a break. Certainly been a very, very big year for me and my family, and I think my brothers and my sisters and my nana, and my mum, of course, and they miss me, and they miss having me in the house. And so definitely thinking of taking some time off just to relax. But I'd like to go to uni and study political science or international relations, and possibly law down the barrel. So
yeah, Oh, it's exciting.
Very, very.
And I think you need a break as well, by the sound of it. So
yes, my nana is pretty adamant on that. She's making sure that when the graduation certificates arrive, that I just head home and just have a break back in the Kimberley. And I think there's no better place to have a break than in the Kimberley. So
one of the topics I wanted to ask you about as well is racism. And it's important because, well, the work that I do, I experience racism all the time, and it happens. And particularly when you're in a leadership role like you are, doing all the work, there's a lot of people that might be racist, might not agree with what you're saying. And as you continue on your life and as you go into more bigger and better leadership roles as well, you might continue to face it. Have you had experiences where you have had racism?
I haven't personally experienced it. I mean, I experienced it, of course, but I haven't in my line of work yet. It's inevitable, of course, and unfortunately it is. And I haven't experienced it yet, but, when I do, I've been told by a lot of people, a lot of mentors, that you just don't worry about those people. They're quite happy, typing away behind the scenes, and just don't retaliate.
You saying you haven't experienced racism, it makes me hopeful for the future, because you're the first Aboriginal person I've met that hasn't experienced racism.
wow.
Yeah.
Really, wow.
Yeah. So it makes me think the younger generation, like you are quite younger than, quite younger than me. So I think that maybe the school system has done a lot of work.
Yeah.
And maybe the next generation that are coming through, they have different ways of thinking.
Of course.
And they're more inclusive, and they're not going to think of Aboriginal people as another group.
Yeah.
We're all one people
100%.
as well. So hearing that from you makes me really hopeful, because I'm nearly double your age pretty much. And so hearing that from you at school now, I think that we have a future that we can look forward to.
I agree with that statement. And, I spoke about reconciliation. I touched on that just before. I'm constantly speaking at functions and schools, and spoke at the Department of Jobs, Tourism, Science, Innovation here in WA. And reconciliation to me is talking about that story, acknowledging the history, but also being proud of who we are and how far we've come as Australian people. And it's a story that I often think about. I mean, reconciliation. I often think about it, and my nana has been in the native title arena for 50 years. And they have done a lot of work in that area to get where we are today. And so I often reflect on the hardships, and I tell people, my friends, that my nana and the people before us have had it a lot more harder than we have. And so it's just being appreciative of who we are and where we are today. And I'm just so fortunate that the respect that I get from members of public and schools and public servants, is incredible. And these people, they are so supportive of what I do, and so it's really nice to see that, and I hear about the stories about racism, and I think how that is terrible. That is very, very upsetting. And how do I help this person? And so, because I said, I haven't experienced it, and the line of work that I do, I'm constantly in the public eye, and I'm constantly meeting people and ministers, and I have not encountered it yet. So,
being an Aboriginal person, you often have a lot of really valuable perspectives that you bring to the table. And the way that you approach situations and your leadership style can often be informed by your culture and your background and your values as well. So how do you think your cultural background has informed your leadership style?
Well, growing up in a household with 3 generations, firstly, I had my nana, my mum and my siblings. I often heard the stories about my nana and what they did back in the days. And bear in mind, my nana was actually born in the bush, in Kimberley. And so they faced a lot of hardships. When I am at a table with Minister Burney, for example, I am bringing my lived experience as a young person from remote Australia. I'm bringing my experience as a young Aboriginal person, but I'm also bringing my values and my roots, which are instilled in me from when I was young, which is the stories about my nana and how they went about. But I also have a lot of friends who are pretty high up, business leaders, politicians, former politicians. And so having that lived experience, I'm able to work with a lot of different people. I'm able to work with the minister, but I'm able to also work with the other young people, and it's amazing how my cultural background has influenced my leadership.
In what ways?
To be strong, to be determined, and to understand that you don't always get your way. Especially at tables like that, I can put my my experience at the table, but it's up to the minister whether she wants to take that experience or take that advice. And so, it's taught me a lot. And I've worked with a lot of different people across Australia. I've worked with Aboriginal organisations as well, and I've assisted Aboriginal organisations. But I'm also able to work with Minister Bernie. So it's taught me a lot to be to not second guess, certainly, but to also be true to yourself. That the point you're putting across is what you have lived, and it's up to the person who's on the receiving end whether they want to listen or accept it.
Being a leader isn't easy. There's lots of challenges that you face. It could be time with family, travelling. It could be a whole host of other issues as well. I know I face my fair share of issues as well. So I want to hear, have you faced any challenges, and what are they?
I've faced a lot of challenges in my life, Emma. As stated before, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I had to go through chemotherapy at a very, very, very young age, 2.5, 3. But that has allowed me to give back to my community, to give back to all those people who were there for me. These days I'm facing the battle with travelling on top of school. I was also in production, and 6 months of production as well is a lot. And so I'm constantly jumping between organisations that I'm on, and like the Empowered Young Leaders, and how I can take their advice to Canberra, for example. So year 12 alone is a huge challenge to me as a person and my leadership. And so there's been a lot of challenges that I've faced throughout my life and hardship, and but it's also made me a far more better person, I think so.
Tremane, you're such an inspiring young man, and I'm sure there's so many people out there, children and adults, that are inspired by what you do and your work. And so I guess you could help them out a little bit by giving them some advice.
Sure. So I often say to the people of the young people of the Kimberley that if you put your mind to something, you'll reap the benefits in the long run. And so by that I mean, I had the opportunity to go to Aquinas College, and I didn't have to, but I look back at it and I reflect and I go, I'm proud of that decision, and I love how I made that decision at a very young age, 12, sending me away. And so, you just constantly just work really hard, and to become the person that you want to be in the future. And so I'm, just take every opportunity that's there with both hands and go along with it.
Mm. I hear you're doing some amazing work with youth in Banksia Hill. Can you tell us a bit about that?
I'm in Youth Parliament this year, and I'm part of the Police and Justice Committee. And one of the things that we've been looking at in our bill is to reform the Youth Offenders Act and look at the criminal justice system, particularly juvenile justice. And in my home community in Wyndam, we saw a few years ago a spike in youth crime, and today that number is very, very low. And that's because of the effectiveness of one of the programs that we have back at home, which is giving young people a job. Because when you give them a job, they're able to remain hopeful. They're able to do something. They're feeling valued in society. They're not being alienated. And so, I often have young people that I know in Baxter Hill who reach out and say, pass on this message to Tremane that he's representing us here very well. And it's just it makes my heart feel very humble, and just to hear that. And so, because it's them I'm representing as well, it's all young people. And so just doing a lot of work with the young people in the criminal justice system. And I have, my nana is an advisor to the Attorney General, and so she works with John Quigley in the Baxter Hill area, and or the criminal justice system as a whole in WA. So it's amazing work, and I love what I do, and I love how I can assist these people who've been alienated, and these are marginalised people, that I represent. So,
what do you do on your times off? How do you be a 17-year-old?
I'm actually binge watching Criminal Minds at the moment. I don't know if that's what a normal 17-year-old would do, but
I did it. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
amazing. I
great.
love the show. It's the best. I catch up with mates. I managed to get out on weekends. I'm not a beach person, so I don't go to the beach. It's never been my thing. So when I have mates that ask me, let's go to the beach in summer, I say, no, thank you.
Well, there's no beach in Wyndam.
Exactly. And there's crocodiles, it's like I'm not going to go and dive in the water, So, I just switch off. I eat snacks while I'm watching a movie, and sometimes I sleep in. And I feel bad for sleeping in, but then I remember, no, I need to sleep in. That's the best thing. But yeah, I'm not the most out there 17-year-old. I've always been perceived as an adult. So, I've never actually been able to do anything that's quite teenagey, you know what I mean? And so, just watching movies, Emma.
Would you have a gap year?
Considering it, definitely.
Travel, have fun.
Yep, have fun.
Do a Kentucky tour.
Yeah, Kentucky, yeah. I learnt about that during, I'm doing my Cert 3 in tourism, so I didn't know that existed, and then we did a whole assignment on it, and so, just love it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, have fun.
Have fun, yeah, 100%. And, I look forward to getting back home, that's for sure, and just, actually, when I am home, I fish, and I go out bush, and I'm with my family and my friends, and so, I love that.
What do you catch up there?
Barramundi, Brim. We also that's just in the fishing in the river, but I'm sure if you go out to the sea you'll get queenfish and all that. So, but we don't do sea fishing. I don't do sea fishing. So barramundi. It's my favourite fish.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So when I was in Sydney, I made sure to order barramundi.
Thank you so much for joining me on Paint It Blak, Tremane. It was wonderful to have you here and hear about the amazing work you're doing. And I'm sure that you've inspired a lot of our viewers today, and you've definitely inspired me. So thank you for joining me. And thank you to all of our viewers for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure to share this story with you of our young future Prime Minister. Thanks for watching Paint It Blak with me, Emma Garlett. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.